Miami Dolphins rookie running back Jaylen Wright has the best chance to start in 2024. I'm going to explain why. This and more coming up next on Locked On NFL Draft Podcast.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Locked On family? Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parson, always on the ones and twos. You can find and follow me on X at DP_NFL. I am a senior draft analyst, and thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and everyday shot for being our everydayers. Guys, again, we're getting into heavy running back talk with your favorite running back guru himself, your boy DP. We're talking about running backs with the best chance to start. We will get into running backs are in kind of weird situations as rookies post 2024 NFL draft, and then potential day 3 impact running backs to keep an eye out for as we get through rookie minicamps, OTAs, and of course heading into training camp. But before all of that, guys, I got to tell you that today's episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go. I admit it, I have a competitive side, and it is a big fan of Monopoly Go, the mobile hit twist on classic Monopoly. So join your friends and download Monopoly Go, now free on the App Store or Google Play. Running backs with the best chance to start. And I know some people might be shocked from the opening. I went to 4th round running back to the Miami Dolphins, Jaylen Wright, right? The Blazer, the speed demon, whatever you want to call him, right? The fastest running back in the class, if I'm not mistaken, per 40-yard dash. This is a home run hitter. And with this young man, you know, some people probably thought when they heard that, I was like, well, the best chance to start has got to be Jonathon Brooks, right? Jonathon Brooks coming back off of ACL. I don't, you know what I mean? He had the ACL late in the college football season, if I remember correctly. And while he is, I think, due and sure to be ready for training camp, why rush it? I don't see a situation where you have Chuba Hubbard, you still have Miles Sanders. I don't see or understand, you know, I believe they just signed Rashad Penny for another veteran running back. So the question for me becomes, why rush it? Why rush this young man on the field? I think if there's anything, you just kind of see where you are, and it's more so post week 10 that we probably see Jonathon Brooks and allow him to take the reins of this offense, if at all. Since you have 2 veterans, I don't think Rashad Penny is probably like insurance for the veterans, but also a camp body. So I'm not saying that he's going to keep Brooks off the field, but I do think Miles Sanders and Chuba Hubbard, who's both are effective backs and proven to be effective veteran backs in the NFL and can get the job done. I think with Dave Canalson's new offense, we got to see how it plays, how it looks and how it plays out. But I could see a path where Brooks doesn't get on the field immediately. For me, I think Jaylen Wright has a chance to see the field, and I think it's because of injuries. I'm not predicting or speaking that someone's going to get hurt, but De'Von Achane got hurt last year. Raheem Mostert's kind of been banged up throughout his career. And, you know, at the end of the day, running back is just a violent physical position. And I think there's a strong chance that he gets onto the field sooner than his counterparts in terms of starting, right? I think, you know, there's a chance that with his skill set and his body type and everything is different than De'Von Achane, where he's a bigger, he's kind of Raheem Mostert in a sense, right? That, you know, a bigger frame, explosive, vertical speed, where De'Von Achane, you know, outstanding home run threat himself, he's probably more of that change of pace type of back that you're not going to give 25 carries to because, you know, from a workload standpoint, 25 touches per game type situation. I do think, you know, again, looking at Jaylen Wright, I just feel like there's a chance for him. There's a better chance for him. There's no injury to be worried about, right? And again, you're behind 2 running backs, at least one for sure, who's been nicked up like almost every year of his career, feels like, with Raheem Mostert. And if that's the case, you see a chance or an opportunity for Jaylen Wright to see the field and potentially work his way in as a starter. Do I think he's more of a 2025 play? I think a couple of these backs are. I think Jonathon Brooks is. I think Jaylen Wright is. I think Marshawn Lloyd is, to be completely honest with you. Trey Benson as well. You know, Trey Benson for sure with the Arizona Cardinals. Blake Corum, I think all these backs are going to see the field, but I'm talking about starting. I find it hard to see anyone truly starting, especially right out the gate. Don't think that's going to happen. Um, Mainly because of landing spots, right? It's different if Trey Benson fell to a team that needed a starting or needed a running back, right? That a team that could use a starter. I just don't see that situation kind of like maturing, right? Down to the maturation of that situation. But again, looking at these, this is a talented group of runners. Is there any true bell cows? I think, y'all know, you guys know, listen to this pod. My number one back was Trey Benson, but I also had Jonathon Brooks, I think, is like RB3 and Blake Corum is RB2. So I think Corum's going to see the field. I think he's in a really good spot behind Kyron Williams. And I think those guys are not, I'm not saying it's going to be a 50-50 rush share or touch share in LA for the Rams. I do think it could be a 70-30 situation where Sean McVay wants to get Blake Corum on the field and keep Kyron Williams healthy because he knows we have a strong shot to make the playoffs, and we're going to need one of our top offensive weapons more healthy than not come postseason, and you want to allow Kyron Williams to be exactly who he's been. You know what I mean? Like 2023 was an outstanding year for him, and he just repeated what he did at Notre Dame. Just a guy that can get the job done. Wasn't going to test well. Wasn't going to be all those different things. But I think Blake Corum still has a chance to get on the field. Bucky Irvin, I think, has a good chance stepping into that RB2 role. I know Sean Tucker out of Illinois that they signed after the draft last year. He's working his butt off and trying to get back to being that guy that we saw at Illinois in 2021, I'm sorry. And where he just looked like one of the best backs in college football. And 2020, so that was the 2021 season. 2022 was not kind to him with the system change, going from zone to gap, and he didn't fare well running between the tackles and processing between the tackles. He's more of an outside to in processing type of back. So I think with Bucky Irvin stepping into that RB2 role behind Rachaad White, I think, his ability to catch the ball. Same thing with Will Shipley, right? Now, do I think Will Shipley's going to see the field a lot? It's hard because, again, Saquon is a do-it-all type of running back. He can run routes. He can line up in the slot. He can go one-on-one with some with linebackers and different things of that nature. But you don't want to have a guy like Will Shipley just sitting there collecting dust. He's not a collectible. You got to put him on the field, and I think he can get some burn, in this offense as well. So got to keep my eye on. Of course, Ray Davis also for the Buffalo Bills, but I do think Jaylen Wright and Jonathon Brooks are my top two in terms of rookies with the best chance to start in 2024. I think those are the two. I think Brooks later in the season, mid-season to late, after, like I said, after week 8 and 10, 8 through 10, somewhere in there, I think that's where you might see changing of the guard and allow him to get those carries. But it just also depends on how the team looks, right? If they're competitive in the NFC South and Chuba is running hard and Miles Sanders making plays, making splash plays and different things like that, again, Jonathon Brooks might not even see the field as much. So just preparing y'all, like there's chances that this running back class, we don't see a starter, like a true starter until 2025. And then the 2025 NFL draft class of running backs is outstanding. You hear me? Like outstanding. So yeah, so that's just what that is for me. But guys, let's change gears here. Let's get into RBs that I feel are in some weird situations. We're going to New York, the Big Apple, but I'm not talking about those Giants. I'm talking about those Jets and their 4th round pick on the first pick. I think one of their first picks on day 3. We'll get into that and more coming up next. All right, game off. We got to pause here to talk more about Monopoly Go. But I know what you're saying. Flag on the play. You already talked about that. But there's just so much good stuff in this game. In Monopoly Go, you can team up with friends for time tournaments where you work together to build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes you unlock. And there's so much to get. Unique stickers you can trade with friends to complete albums for big prizes. Plus, Monopoly Go feels new and exciting every day with constantly changing tournaments and challenges. a ton, include their own unique mini games like digging for treasure or a robot pachinko machine. And there's always new timed events that help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win or rent freezes. There's always something fun to discover in Monopoly Go. So get off the bench and go download it now, free on Google Play or the App Store. Go download it now, free on Google Play or the App Store. Game on. Running backs that fell into weird spots from the 2024 NFL draft class. And guys, I got to go to round 4. The New York Jets selecting Braelon Allen, running back out of Wisconsin. And the reason why I say this, and I want you to stick with me here. Yes, you guys, anybody that has listened to this show, I was never a Braelon Allen guy. I was never, and it's been like that for some time. Like, you know what I mean? His freshman year, like he's 17 and so forth and so on. Everybody loved him. He's 6'2", he's 245. Everything sounded great. But I was like, okay, like watching him, I just didn't see nuance. I didn't see quick feet. I didn't see a lot of things that I value in the running back position. I think he was strictly a scheme dependent guy. Now, don't get me wrong. In his college career, in 3 years as a starter for the Badgers, 311 reps out of zone, 278 reps out of gap, right? But when you look at his 2021 season, where it was pretty even. It was literally only 16 more carries out of zone than gap. But he had another big season the year following, 230 attempts, 1,242 yards, 5.4 yards per attempt, 11 rushing touchdowns. And he outpaced, like, he ran 137 runs out of gap and 90 out of zone. And that's something I noticed on tape, was that he's better downhill. Is he someone that is going to be a quick gap exchanger and changer? And no, that's not going to really be his game, right? He's going to hit the intended gap. He's going to follow his blocks. He's going to, let things get set up. And then you want him to get downhill, fall forward, get you some yards after contact. And he has decent to good open field speed. A lot of people thought he was going to run 4.3. I never saw that on tape. That a true explosiveness to break away. I just did not see that. I was looking forward to his 40-yard dash time, which he did not run at all this draft cycle and everything. So it was like, okay, this is kind of tough, right? This is kind of tough to gauge, but I never felt like he was going to run a 4.3. I thought it was going to be 4.47 to 4.55, somewhere in there, truthfully. I didn't think he had elite breakaway speed, but it's good. It's sufficient. It can get the job done. But looking at him, man, the Jets themselves, right, is a different situation, because if I remember correctly, they run a lot of zone. And having Breece Hall, that's a big thing for a team like them. You know what I mean? When you look at the New York Jets, that team runs a lot of zone, man, and that's kind of the basis of their run game. So you put a running back that's not, how to put this, like, because 181 of their 356 rush attempts last year came out of zone, and I think they switched it up based off of, and more so based off of, when they tried to give Dalvin Cook more run with them. He had, outside of Breece Hall, who is their lead back last year, 125 carries, plus 120 carries out of zone. He did have 95 in gap. And gap, you think about, gap is it can get a little muddy when we talk about gap runs, because people think, oh, power, right? Downhill, things like, well, kind of. You can also run pinning and pulling and things like that. GT counters could be viewed as power plays and gaps, because you have, you got pin downs, you got two guards or two a tackle on the guard pulling backside, different things like that. Tight end, H-back, pulling backside. Now you got 2-3 lead blockers, and it's a power play, right? With guys leading up the alley and kicking out and being physical and moving guys out of the way and creating that seal in the alley with an escort, right? With the bully ball escort with two big offensive linemen leading the way. But true power plays, attacking the A gap, the B gap, being physical, being able to press and jump cut and find lanes and still be physical downhill. that's not really either one of those guys. That's not Breece Hall's game. I look at Braelon. I think again, Braelon is better when he's able to work downhill primarily. So it's going to be interesting. I think I do believe he fell into a weird spot because I'm asking myself, okay, New York, what is going to be the basis of your run game? Huh? Like, what's going to be the basis of it, man? Because I'm interested. I'm truly interested on the basis of your run game because Breece Hall is going to be the guy. He is their guy, right? He coming off a year where the year before he got hurt and he tore, I believe it was ACL and everything, and we didn't know what he was going to look like when he returned. And 222 carries, 93 yards rushing, but also the receiving upside with him catching the football. He's a fantasy darling and stud, right? 76 receptions, 591 yards. Receiving on the season for it, and I think he might have had a couple touchdowns. Like he gets the job done, right? And he's going to bounce back. Another year. It'll be basically 2 years removed from recovering from the ACL. So yeah, I just kind of look at him and I'm like, all right, are you going to run the plays that he? Because I don't know if that's going to be the case, right? I remember when Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb were both like rolling in Cleveland. Kevin Stefanski ran the ball differently for each. Like, yeah, both of them were both kind of scheme versatile runners in terms of Chubb can run gap, but Chubb was much better in zone. Like he was an elite zone running back, right? But he was still good in gap. And the same thing, if you just reverse it for Nick Chubb, for Kareem Hunt, he was good in zone, but he was a much better to elite running back in gap. But Kevin Stefanski mixed it up, and it was hard for defenses to really get a beat because you're like, okay, it's not a situation where I feel not. This is how I look at it. If you're running primarily and predominantly zone, yeah, you mix some gap in, stuff like that. But if you're mostly running zone throughout the season, right? You're mostly running zone throughout the season for Breece Hall, and then you bring Braelon Allen in during the season. He's been mostly running gap. You're kind of tipping your cap. You know what I mean? You're tipping your cap to the defense. You're like, okay, if they're going to run the ball, look for something up the gut, guys. Looking for something in the middle between the tackles, between the hashes. They're trying to run the ball, power football, gap football. Expect something downhill. Where with Breece, it's a little bit of I can give you both. You know what I mean? And things of that nature where I don't see that with Braelon Allen. I think he needs to, if he's going to excel, it has to be in the gap scheme. So I think that was a little bit of a weird situation that he was thrown into, in my honest opinion. Didn't really like the spot. I think, the back they drafted after him, my guy Isaiah Davis in the 5th round out of South Dakota State, I think he fits better than Braelon Allen, to be honest and fair with you. But again, we'll see how it plays out. One other like kind of odd situation, not odd, but just weird in terms of where is he going to get his touches. Marshawn Lloyd, 3rd round running back. He looks good so far in rookie minicamp and everything. He looks like he's still 220 from the combine and everything. But what am I worried about? What am I concerned with? Is they just paid Josh Jacobs. They re-signed AJ Dillon. Where are the touches coming from him? So it's a little bit of a weird situation just as a rookie because I don't know if he's going to get if he's going to have the touches to be a true impact player for this offense right now, especially with all these young impact players they have around Jordan Love. But I think in 2025, AJ Dillon walks away, and then Marshawn Lloyd starts to gain more ground on a year older, more carries to the body, wear and tear is wearing down on the tires, the tread on the tires wearing down on the Josh Jacobs. And then you can start seeing that maturation of and increasing of touches and carries for Marshawn Lloyd. But I do think it's a little bit of a weird situation just right now because you just don't know, to be completely honest, guys, in terms of what you can expect and everything. So we'll see. At the end of the day, we will see. But guys, let's close this thing out. Potential day 3 impact running backs from the 2024 NFL drafts. And this time I'm going back to not Cali. I'm not going back to Cali. I'm going back to New York, the Big Apple, not to the Jets this time. I'm going to those Giants, and I'm going to talk about their 5th round pick and why I think he also has a really strong chance of being not just an impact player. I could have put him in the first segment, but I wanted to talk about him last. That he could be a starter in 2024. So this and more coming up next. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. It's winner take all in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel is giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Because, guys, right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. New customers get $150 back in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's right. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and so much more. Why would you want to miss anything like this? All right. To have the ability to use $150 to be able to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and so much more. All you need to do is visit fanduel.com/locked-on and make every playoff shot count. Visit fanduel.com/locked-on and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. Guys, we got to talk about Tyrone Tracy. I know I've talked about him before, and I hope you haven't gotten tired of it, man. I love this kid's game. Former wide receiver, converted to running back in, I believe, his final year or so at Purdue. Man, let me tell you something. 5'11", 210, 4.48 40, 153 10-yard split, 40-inch vert, 10.4 in the broad, 6.8 13 cone, 4.06 in the 20-yard short shuttle. I just see a starting running back and a guy that's going to be a mismatch, a playmaker. And you're talking about potential day 3. Saquon Barkley's in Philly now. Bringing in Motor Devin Singletary, who had a resurgence, a bounce back year of sorts with the Houston Texans last year. But at the exact same time, is that something we should bank on again? I don't think so. I don't think we should bank on that being the case yet again, right? But I do look at it from this aspect of I think Tyrone Tracy could take that starting job for him at some point during the rookie year. But if he doesn't, I do think that he still can be an impact player. Remember, this is a former wide receiver. There is tape out there of him playing wide receiver, beating corners, beating safeties, beating nickel defenders with route running. And if you take that and match that up against a linebacker, good luck, right? And it's all about giving Daniel Jones easy targets, easy options in the passing game. And I think a guy like Tyrone Tracy absolutely brings that. So when I think about day 3 impact running backs, I think it will be a guy like Tyrone Tracy, who for me, I honestly felt like he could have gone around earlier. But at the same time, I understand that this running back class was viewed differently and the free agency class kind of pushed their value down the board just a bit. Another guy I think could be an impact player from day 3, Dylan Laub, the running back out of New Hampshire. Guys, let me tell you something. Maybe I think he was the best pass catching running back in this class in terms of route running, hands, ball tracking, down the field, confidence, and everything. This is a Danny Woodhead type of running back, right? The Christian McCaffrey stuff was never going to fly with me. I was never going to let that slide. People trying to do the Will Shipley as a recruit to Clemson, right? A 4 or 5 star recruit to Clemson. Nah, there's only one CMC, baby. It's only one run CMC. But at the same time, when I look at Dylan Laub, I see a guy that absolutely can live in that third down role, that quickness, that, again, the confidence in his hands. There's from 2022, there was a play where they motioned him out one-on-one. I think it was against a corner. They threw a fade to him, like a 35, maybe 40-yard fade, and tracked it well, went up, played above the rim, and made a play on the ball. And I was just like, that's a running back, right? So just the skill set he has, and with Zamir White, who I think is for the Las Vegas Raiders, with Zamir White being the RB1, I think he's going to be an absolute monster in this offense and bring that physical. He's going to be the Brandon Jacobs for Antonio Pierce, who was a teammate of Brandon Jacobs in New York with the Giants. I think that's the kind of role he's going to fill. And then you put Dylan Laub. Can Dylan Laub be that Ahmad Bradshaw? I don't know, but I think that he could be that pass catching, change of pace guy that once Zamir White has really run hard, beating the defense into like just being tired and just they're tired of hitting him. They're tired of trying to tackle him. And it's like, okay, let's change the pace with our jitterbug who can run routes and catch the ball down the field, screen passes, make you miss an open field, two-step you, all these different things. And it's like, man, sign me up for that. So I think the potential day 3 impact running backs, man, I think Dylan Laub for out of New Hampshire for the Las Vegas Raiders. And then, as I said, I think Tyrone Tracy, man, for the New York Giants, I think there's a shot there for him to be not only an impact player, but a heavy impact player. Also, one more. Audric Estime. That was his name toggled between the second and third segment here, between weird spot or odd situation and like potential day 3 impact, because Javonte Williams, Sean McVay, he's been known to run multiple running backs right throughout his career in New Orleans. So it's gonna be interesting, in my opinion, on how much run does Audric get. Where I think Javonte's clear better player. I think he's a better receiver out of the backfield, all that good stuff. But Audric is no slouch, right? He's just not a great athlete. You know what I mean? With true breakaway speed and everything, like he's solid. He's a solid player. But could he take some snaps away from Javonte Williams and be an impact player? I think there's a chance, especially in the red zone. Javonte, had some injuries throughout his career. You use the 230-pound running back that is Audric Estime and let him run the rock at the goal line or inside the low red zone. I think that's a good move for the team. But guys, that's it. That's it for our running back talk. Post 2024 NFL draft class. Appreciate all the love and support y'all tapping in to talk about the potential day 3 impact running backs. RBs are in some not so ideal situations, kind of weird, kind of odd. And then those RBs with the best chance to start. Like I said, not many of them in this class due to the landing spots and situations they fell into. But guys, thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listens today and every day, man. We appreciate you guys. Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts. Get the latest episode as soon as it is available. Thank you again for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. All right, so Keith will be back with me, I believe, on tomorrow. So come and join the conversation again tomorrow on Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.